Good morning, fantasy football fans, and welcome to a new Brady Fantasy Football Season 2. That's right, we're back. It's September. Excited to be back here. Excited to be giving you, the league update news today and some introductions for the teams this year. I know you're all very excited. I can see, my X account has been blowing up. Everyone's, where's the podcast? Where's the podcast? This is it. We're back, baby. We're back, baby. New logo, new tagline. Welcome to the Brady Fantasy Football Podcast, where if you're listening, you're family. Today, we'll be going over the Leggett Family Survey I sent out, Leggett League Family Survey we sent out in 2022 about changes to the league for 2023. And without any further ado, let me get a sip of coffee here with my little Brady Fantasy Football mug made by Zach of Team Zuzu last year. Very sweet gift. And with that, let's get underway. First question. We've used the NFL Fantasy Football app for the league since 2015 when the league wasn't started. Do you want to continue using that app? Easy one. 5 people said, yes, let's keep it. 5 out of 7. There's 8 recorded responses up here. I won't go into all who did what, but it's ideally kind of anonymous, right? So we all kind of just get to focus on what we want to do. I appreciate y'all taking the time to fill this out, the 8 of you that did. Normally it's just me and Zach kind of going back and forth a little bit about it. Zach and Devin are out this year because they had to, schedules are busy and they would need to take a break, so they're out this year. We got Aaron and Travis in, which we'll go over their bios and stuff a little bit, a little later, introduce them to the league. But thank you for doing this. It's kind of fun to do it as a team, as a committee, as opposed to just myself kind of dinking around thinking what would be cool. So thank you to everyone who took the time to do it. I appreciate it, and we'll continue on. So basically, this one, 8 people filled it out, but this one only got 7 responses. Majority is saying, half the league is saying let's keep it. More than half of the people who filled it out are saying let's keep it, so we'll probably just roll with it. On to the next one. This one is, do you want to become a money league with a small buy-in for a cash prize or for a fantasy football trophy? Last year I ended up giving Jace a fantasy football trophy just out of my own pocket because it's something I wanted to do in hosting the league. Looking at the results here, we had 2 yes a trophy, 3 a cash prize, 1 I support anything, 1 indifferent, but I'd do a cash prize versus a trophy. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people kind of up for it, I guess this is how I'll put it, right? 7 out of 10 is pretty good. It's a little late to do the buy-in with the draft happening on Wednesday. So I think this, with the majority of people wanting to do a cash prize, I think a cash prize would be great for maybe the next year because it's a little short notice. We can talk about it on the draft night if we want, but definitely we'll do a trophy just out of my own pocket again. I think it's super fun, great to have some bragging rights and a little something to sit on your shelf or whatever. I think it's cool. At least one other person seems to think so too in the league, or 2 people, I guess I should say. But so that's that one. Move on to the next one. Don't want to spend too much time on it. Introduce keepers. This is a big one. Having keepers let us opt to keep 1 to 3 players from a roster at the end of the season to bring into the next season. I noted that this would not apply to players last season, but moving forward after this draft. So we got 6 yeses. That's more than half the league saying yes. This one has an additional comment if you lose the draft pick. It's something we can talk about a little bit later. But right now, it looks like we will be switching to a keeper league at the end of the season. So after this draft this year, heading into next year, you'll be able to keep. I think the best way to do it, since 2 people voted no, and it's something new for our league, we'll start with 1 keeper. So 1 keeper moving into the 2024 season is I think how we want to handle that. Next, we got the switch to Dynasty League. Note this is override the keeper setting very quickly. 8 people all know, so we will not be doing that. Draft order question. Since 2015, we've just been hitting the random button. That's it. I listed some alternatives, asked people, so you can put in your own if you want. And the majority, 5, are saying that they would like to do the reverse standings. I guess 5 is the majority of people who filled it out. It's half the league at least saying reverse standings. Clear winner, in my opinion. 2 people said random button. 1 person said preseason pick'ems, which I think would be fun. A little too late for that now since we're kind of down to the wire here. But reverse standings orders are what we're going to do. So 10th place gets first pick, which means Amy will get first pick this year and Jace will get last pick this year. And that's just what we'll continue moving forward until something changes. This one's a little trickier. Playoffs have historically been 4 teams in the league. Would you like to see expanded to 6 teams for the 2023 season? So this one's a little tricky because 50% said no and they want 4. So 4 of the 8 people who filled this out said I want 4, and the other 4 said yes, I want 6. This person said 6, but a first round bye. Again, another great idea. I think that would be an awesome idea to win a bye. Means you don't get to play for a week, but it also kind of like you get to ease off the brakes and watch what happens, right? So it's kind of fun. I think with it being split like this, I would probably lean on we don't have a majority vote, as lame as that is. So we'd probably just keep it at 4 to what it's been rather than change it. But we can talk about it on draft night if people have an argument that they want to put forward or talk about, or maybe do a live vote, final vote there at the end. But looks like it's without a majority. I'm thinking as the commish, I would just keep it at what we have. Unless there's an issue with, we can talk about it on draft night or whatever, but that's what I'm thinking. Last year, Amy was last piece in the league and had to sing the national anthem. This year, it's the same thing. So she's singing the national anthem because she lost again. We didn't plan that, but that's how it happened. Moving forward, I asked, should we do that or should we do something else, right? And 6 people, so the majority of the league, so there should be a punishment for last place, but not singing the national anthem. So we'll have to figure out something else for that, which I think is great. I like the national anthem. We've done it 2 years in a row now, though, so it's time for something different. One person said there should not be. Another person said a caboose trophy for pulling in the rear, which I think is hilarious. It's an awesome idea. And so we'll see. But definitely punishment for last place team. We'll have to decide on it on draft night. Finally, this year we had, finally for this section I should say, 10 teams in the league. Are you happy with it? Majority saying 10 is perfect. We'll leave it at that. When the league started, the entire league was part of the Leggett family, which is why it's named the Leggett League. But at this point, over half the league, with Zach leaving actually, is not. So should we find a new name? 6 people, over half the league said no, it's fine as is, so we'll leave it. I know Corey mentioned in the group chat, they were like, hey, what are we doing with this? It's history. It's tradition at this point, right? Next, we got the scoring and roster changes. A trade review time of 2 days was implemented earlier last year. Do you want to keep it with coaches able to veto or revert it to being instantaneous once both coaches have approved? 6, again, the majority of the league is saying that they would like to remove the 2-day trade window, so we will remove it moving forward. Defenses in our league scored an average of 24% more points in total compared to a league using default settings. I have an example here. Basically, I'm asking, would you like the defense scoring settings changed back to the default settings, which is what we've done years prior. Last year, the defenses were stronger than normal. Again, majority here of the people who voted are saying yes, 2 said no, and 1 said add defense points for not allowing a TD in each red zone encounter. And this is actually a really cool idea. I love this idea. The problem is it's something I would have to track manually or find someone else who is already tracking this, because this is not a stat that the NFL fantasy or other fantasy groups that I'm aware of track. So I love that idea. It'd be really cool to be able to add that, kind of stat to be able to separate what defenses kind of come through when it matters, But unfortunately, I can't do that, and I don't really want to have to track that manually. So for now, that will probably stay out. But we got 5 yeses, so over half the people who voted here. I'm thinking it's not quite, it's half the league, so it's kind of tough because it's like a majority, but not, right? A majority of people who voted said yes. The other 2, I'm thinking that maybe they didn't get around to it, or maybe they don't have a preference on this kind of stuff. They're just happy to play. So I'll kind of say if 5 people want it to revert to the default, we're going to revert to the default settings. I think that's a fair option there. This year, the scoring potential for the quarterback position was reduced to the default settings, so it went from 6 to 4. I'm asking if you want it reverted back to 6, is what we had for many years. 75% said keep it the same as this has been this year, which is 4 points. 1 person said a QB receiver touchdown should match a running back touchdown. Just to clarify, a receiver touchdown will still be 6, as it was last year. A running back touchdown will still be 6, as it was last year. This is just asking if we want a quarterback passing touchdown to go up to 6 or stay at 4. And the answer, everyone is saying 6. Over the majority is saying we'd like to keep it at 4, which is what we had last year. And that's really partly because each team you might have 1 quarterback, but you have 3, 4 receivers that are in and out. So if they get 4 touchdowns and 2 go to 1 receiver and the other ones go to the other receivers, that's spread out amongst those receivers, but all of those touchdown passes go to the same quarterback, which makes them, a stronger pick in general because of that. So in order to try to balance that, the default settings are to have it at 4. So that way, if they 4 throw touchdowns, a quarterback gets 16 points, even though it's spread out amongst those other receivers, right? So it's an idea to kind of keep it from running away with the quarterback. So I'm fine with 4 and 6. I don't really have a strong preference, but the majority is saying here that they would like to keep it at 4, so we'll keep it at 4. Next, I showed a picture of the current starting roster positions and roster limits, asked if anyone wanted anything changed. We had some great responses here. So less bench players makes the waiver wire more interesting. I think that's a great idea. We have added more bench over the years, and I think it leads to a little bit of hoarding players. It leads a little bit to there really being slim pickings on the waiver wire, so everyone kind of has their team from the get-go. And tracking it last year, I mean, the majority of people who were in the top half of the league were players they had drafted. You know what I mean? Because our draft is a little bit larger because of the bench spots to fill. So I think this year I'm going to remove 2 bench spots. We'll keep the injury reserve spot, but I think removing those 2 from the bench, that frees up 20 players across the league, which is pretty substantial amount of people to be able to sit on the waivers and allow people to be able to move around a little bit this year more. It does make it you have to pay a little bit more attention, but I don't think it is a back-breaking amount of work, if that makes sense. The next one, rather than 2 flex spots, I prefer the 1 tight end spot and 1 wide receiver, running back, tight end flex. This has been mentioned a couple times over the years because early on, there was basically Gronk and Kelsey who dominated the tight end spot, and it felt kind of out of whack for our little league. So we removed it, and we turned it into a wide receiver, tight end flex. I think this is another great idea. Tight ends basically just go completely undrafted in our league unless they're one of the top ones, because you lose that. But I think that means that people who got that tight end spot, I don't know how to explain it. Like, there was no trade-off for grabbing a great tight end because you're just putting it in a wide receiver spot. So I think changing it so that we have a tight end spot makes the whole league a little bit more fair, because you basically have to give up a tight end. Everyone has to get a tight end, but if you're going to take a Kelsey or a Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts or something, right? You're going to end up you lose a wide receiver and running back kind of in terms of a better player. So I think this is a great idea again. I'll implement it, so we'll get 1 tight end spot and 1 wide receiver, running back, tight end flex spot. Great idea. Thank you for the suggestion. And then we have another one, allow swap of a player with live game injury to another player whose game hasn't started yet. This is another one that I actually think is a super interesting idea, and it makes the whole thing a little bit more injury resistant, right? So that if you have an injury, you can swap it out. Maybe if it was before the first half, you could do that. But this is, again, a limitation of the app, and I don't know if any app allows you to do this really, besides maybe a best ball format, right? But a great idea. Again, this is something I didn't have to track manually. We could set up a system where, someone texts me and has me swap it manually. But again, that seems like a lot more work and really not a path I'd like to go down, of me manually having to manage things like that, just because there's more room for error. It's not as clear what's really happening. So I'd like to keep it with where it's at, but a really cool idea. If they implemented that as an option in the league, I'd love to be able to allow something like that, but I'd have to be tracking it manually. So I think we will skip that or we just won't implement that for now, because it'd be something I'd have to do manually. Next spot, the Brady Fantasy Football podcast section. I basically asked, do you want it to return next year? I thought I had a lot of fun with it. If people were kind of like, it was fun, but I didn't listen to it, or it wasn't very fun, whatever. I was fine not doing it. If people like it, I'll keep doing it. I really enjoy it. You know what I mean? I think it's fun to be able to make this as a creative outlet and to be able to talk about fantasy. Hopefully it gets you guys more excited about it and more involved in the league. I really like it. So one person I don't think understood the question. They said draft recap, midseason pod, pre and post playoff. Great ideas though. I read this, and I'm planning a draft recap with my buddy Jacob Stuckey. He runs a fantasy football podcast as well, and he agreed to hop on mine, and we'll do a draft recap of the Leggett League to see how everyone did their draft. I know that they give like the NFL ratings, the B+ and stuff like that we always joke about. But it'll be fun to kind of go through it with Stuckey and see what we all think. So that'll be a fun one. I look forward to that. The next one is, if you answered yes to the previous question, do you care if it's basically, I'm asking if the podcast is okay to be posted on public channels, right? 6% or 6 people, 75% said no preference, do what you want, and 2 said make it public. So everyone's okay with it being public. It means that you guys are a little bit more public, so I will do my best to make sure we're not talking. I mean, I won't try to. I'm not giving out personal information, stuff like that. But it means that if I'm talking about you guys, I'm talking about all of us publicly. And though I don't expect this to go big or nothing, right? It is something that I want to be aware of, right? And respectful of for everybody. Next, I did a handful of coach interviews throughout the year, texting people for answers out of the podcast. Did you like that aspect and want to continue? Everybody says, yeah, it was fun. All 8 people. So I will continue that. I'll continue to text questions about how the matchup is or what they think of an injury or whatever, you know what I mean, or that play. Like, it's fun. Add some, again, I hope it gets you guys involved. I hope it gets people excited about it. So we'll see. Next, we have any other suggestions, and some guy just said, just crown me the winner now. So again, not sure if he understands the question, but it's, just crown me the winner now. Someone's feeling a little strong about how they're going to do this year. Next was the miscellaneous wrap-up. I asked if basically we want to continue using WhatsApp or if you have anything to say about that. We got a couple responses here. More shit talking. We have a good group chat. I like WhatsApp, but would be open to change platforms if people prefer something else. That's basically where I land at it. I was open to change if people thought it was annoying or something. Everyone seems cool with it, so we'll just roll with it. I'm going to start talking shit. Anyone I shouldn't call out. And then we got all good. More interaction is better than less. I'd agree. It's always fun getting everybody involved. Next we have, I didn't know if everyone was going to come back this next year. So I asked if anybody had someone in mind who could take their spot. We got 3 maybes, 2 yeses, 3 nos. Ended up not needing to ask other people because I was able to fill it with Travis and Aaron. So ends up being okay there. Finally, or not finally, but do you have fun playing this year? Yep. Vast majority of people had a great to good time, okay time here. I'm assuming these guys are we're at the bottom of the ladder, who are just giving it a 3. But majority of people had fun. I'm glad everyone had fun. I'm excited for another fun year. And this is kind of my control question of like, what app do we currently use to play fantasy football, just to make sure people are reading it. Everyone, except for one person, got the right answer, which is the NFL app. One person said, I would prefer Sleep or ESPN, but I'm down either way, which I get what they're saying. Like, yeah, if we use NFL, but I'm up for whatever. I appreciate that. It's a control question, just make sure you're reading the questions. So I thought that was pretty funny how I got somebody there. And then final chance for comments. We got one, would like to have more players on chat. I don't know if that means like on the WhatsApp chat, like more players, or like you want more people in the league, or what entirely that means. But if it's more players in the league, I think we'll probably stick with 10 this year. If it's more players on chat, I'm sure it'll pick up here once the season starts. People tend to get more excited and start talking more after the draft. So I'm sure that'll be good. And then we got This League Rocks. Let me co-host an episode of the podcast. Totally, yeah. I'll contact this person, and if you wanna co-host an episode with me, or if anyone else wants to co-host an episode with me, let me know. I'd love to have you on. I think it'd be awesome to go like with every coach for this season. But yeah, just let me know. And that concludes the Liggett survey from last year there. So that's all the questions there. Next, we're gonna take a look at something I've been working on in the off season here. A little new website for the Brady Fantasy Football Podcast. And my new co-host Albie will be joining me. He likes to sit while I record there. And got a little website here so people know what we're all about. The Brady Fantasy Football Podcast, where if you're listening to your family, people can submit questions, get some FAQs. And then we got some Meet the Coaches, which I'll go into a little bit earlier. It's a little bios there for everybody, along with an episode list coming soon. That's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. We're recording right now. But yeah, we'll get this. This will be up and running shortly. It's been fun to work on, and hopefully is a good. I don't really expect much to happen with it, but it was fun to make, and it'll sit there, and you'll be able to check the episodes there instead of just in the WhatsApp chat. So that's coming this year. And then finally, we're going to take a look at all the changes we've implemented because of the survey there. So we got our settings here. So you can see the draft here, Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Excuse me. And then we also, because of the survey, we've instead of randomizing the draft order, we have set it up to be reverse standings from last year. So you can see I actually have the reverse standings here. So I just went up, it's exactly just the reverse here. So Jace goes last and Amy goes first. as you can see here. This will be our draft order for this year. Aaron took Devin's spot, so he gets the second to last, and Travis took Zach's spot, so he gets the 6th spot there. So that's that for them. We're going to do a quick look at the rule changes from it all. So basically, 4 teams in the playoffs still, just like last year. Still no maximum for ads or trades. Review deadline is the 24th. Waiver type resets to inverse standings order, so same as the draft here. So it's, at the end of each week, however the standings are, that's the waiver priority. So if you are last place in the league, you have the highest waiver priority going into the week, which I think helps try to even that out a little bit. Standings tiebreaker, still head-to-head record. And then the new roster stuff. So we got quarterback, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end is back, 1 kicker, 1 defensive team, and then here's the flex, 1 running back or wide receiver, tight end, 5 bench, so we shrunk the bench by 2, which I think will help with the league here. Then we headed to the scoring settings, so passing touchdowns 4 like normal. The bonuses are fixed this year. I realized they were set up incorrectly years prior. I thought that this stacked, so this was 1 point and this was 1 point, so if they had a 300-yard game that turned into a 400-yard game, they'd only get 1 point because this was set to 1 point. I've adjusted it to 2 points. So if they have a 300 to 399 passing yard game, it's 1 point. If they have a 400 passing yard, it becomes 2 points, and this does not stack. So they just get the 2, not 1 and 2. However, that is different for the passing yard touchdown. So these are both 1 point, as you'll see, because if they get a 40-yard pass, it's 1 point. A 50-yard pass gets the 40-yard plus the 50-yard. So this will be 2 points total if they get a 50-plus yard passing touchdown. Rushing stuff stays the same. Again, I've adjusted this to accurately reflect how those stack, and this is the same. 6-point rushing touchdowns. Receiving yard, same thing. 6-point receiving touchdowns. 40, 50-yard bonuses are set to be correct, and the receiving yard bonuses are set to be correct. Another thing I've added, which is not the only thing that is not a part of the survey that I'm aware of, or I guess there's 2 things. Kickoff and punt return. I added 1 point per 25 yards and a 6-point if they get a kick return touchdown. I've always thought that I don't know if that has always been an option or not, but we've never had that in. It's always cool if you have a wide receiver who does some of that kickoff or punt return work and actually can now get credit for it. Again, we can run it by and see if people are for it or not, but for now I've added it and we can talk about it on draft day there. All this other stuff's the same. Kicking, we actually had kickers a little bit. When I reset the settings to default for the defense team, I took a look at the kicking. This is not the default settings. We had it a little bit different where I had kickers actually weaker than normal, where they got 1 point here and 2 points here for shorter field goals than 30 yards, which the default is 3 points for that. So this is set back to the default, so it's 3-3-3, 4-5 instead of 1-2-3-4-5, which is what we had years prior. And then I don't know if we had penalties for missing field goals. We now do. That's a part of the default thing again. When I reset it, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So if you miss a field goal, you minus a point. Same as the PAT. We've always had that. And then we have defense has been reset to the default. So we had this scale a little bit different years prior. So that the minimum you could get would be 0. The minimum you can now get is -4 if you allow 35 plus points. So that's reset to the defense. That's reset to the default, like how we wanted on the survey. And then the only thing that is yet to be implemented from the changes there is the keeper settings, and that is because you can't do the keeper settings until after the draft, or else it's asking us to select keepers from 2022, which we didn't want. So that pretty much covers all the rule changes for this. Hopefully that all makes sense. I know it's a little bit lengthy, but that's all the rules there for the league going into this year. And for the final segment of this introductory season starting episode 0, preseason, whatever you want to call it, episode, we will go through the bios for the teams here. 2023, the commish, there's just one this year, with Zach having to leave because of scheduling issues. So it's me. Team this year's the Austin Desperados, been in the league since the beginning, 8 years. I'm Brady, aka the Brady the Fantasy Football Podcast, and the only consistent thing I've been in this league is out of the top 2. I have literally ended a season in every position except 1 or 2, but I'm hoping to change that this year. As a Patriots fan, I know that the key to success is to have everyone on your roster do your job, but as it turns out, in fantasy football, that is a whole lot easier said than done. Next, we have the coaches. Replacing Team Easy this year is Kenny's Tiny Hands, Manager Travis, he's a friend from Spokane. This is his first year in the league. And Travis, aka Troll Toes, is fresh out of fantasy retirement and ready to lose. Excited to lose, even. A bus driver by day and a Steelers fan 24/7. He's known to bet shaving his head, but from my memory, he's only had to do it once. He is new to the league and already cocky as all get out. It is time for him to put his fantasy points where his mouth is and see just how fierce of an opponent he can be. After that, we got Liberty Bibbity. This is my brother-in-law, Aaron. It's also his rookie year. Aaron, aka Jello, has a ring size of 12. You can bet that he is a huge fan of the Iowa State football college program there, who's having a kind of crazy year this year because of some scandal. There isn't much he wouldn't do for a Klondike bar, and his biggest role model, spiritually, emotionally, physically, is Jay-Z. He's joining us for the first time this year and is also coming out of retirement for this league, coming out of retirement to be part of the league this year. And excited to have both these new guys. Liberty Bibbity, ran by Aaron, will be replacing the Citadel, which was Devin. Devin also, he's got a little baby now, and scheduling stuff, just how much time he is taking the year off. So we got Travis and Aaron. Welcome to the league. Thanks for joining us. We have Team Coogdit, run by manager Scott. He is a family friend. I've known him about my whole life. Scott, aka the senior discount, just passing the 60-year threshold today, I think, actually. Happy birthday, Scott. He's been a family friend for as long as I can remember and is a 3-time certified girl dad. He is the only non-Leggett to have ever won the league and did so gloriously in 2021 with a team led by Cooper Kupp during his record-breaking MVP year. Scott is a very self-aware WSU fan, and he's the first to say it when his team has cooged it. Next, we have the Team Silver Spartans. Manager is Steve, or Father, as I like to call him. He's been in the league since its inception. Steve, aka Stevie Ganja the most, has made it to the finals 3 times in the last 8 years he's played in this league, and unfortunately has lost every single time. He remains determined despite this, and continues to trust the almighty optimize button on the NFL Fantasy app to make any of the tough decisions that come with managing his fantasy team. He's back yet again, hoping to optimize his way to the championship after losing in the first round of playoffs last year. Great to have you back, Steve. Next, we got Team Majace, aka Evil Majace, aka the Oracle. He's been in the league for 7 years. He is my younger brother. He is the current defending champion. He's also a 4-time winner of the league. The very first year, he took home 3rd place and then went on to win the next 3 years in a row in a crazy 3-peat. He missed the playoffs in 2021, the year that Scott won, actually, and ended in 6th and missed the playoffs, which was kind of crazy, despite having the 2nd highest points for in the league. So he did great points-wise. He just couldn't seem to get the dubs week to week. He came back in 2022 with a vengeance and stomped the league, ending the season with a record 13-2 standing. The Oracle is back this year and is planning on keeping the crown. After this, we got Team Chicken Clucks by Brian, who's a family friend. Again, I've known him for almost my entire life. He's been in the league for 3 years. Brian, aka Daddy Rooster, is another family friend that I have known since I was born. He's the family of 4 and soon to be grandpa. Congratulations, Brian. But his age, despite being a little bit younger than Scott and my father, his age is beginning to show in terms of his fantasy football managing. Having joined the league in 2020 and recording a 7th place finish last year and a pair of 8th place finishes the years prior, Brian is hoping to make the playoffs for the first time this year to show once and for all that this chicken doesn't cluck around. Next, we got Team Return of David, led by Amy. She's my younger sister. She's been in the league 8 years. Amy, aka the token girl of the league, has had her share of highs and lows. Having won the league in 2016 and 2017, she's been unable to return to her former glory since. In 2018, she placed last. In 2019, second to last. And in 2020, she did somehow make it to the finals, albeit with a losing record, and was blown out by a 60-point margin. She placed last in 2021 and 2022, but claims that 2023, this year, is the year that she'll return to the top. Time will tell. Best of luck, Amy. Great to have you back. Next, we have Team 9, led by Corey, who is my brother-in-law. He's been in the league 3 years as well. Corey, aka the student discount, is back for his 3rd season with us after literally marrying my other sister just to get into the league. He is also repping Team Girl Dad, having welcomed his first child earlier this year. Congratulations, Corey. He was too lazy to change his name upon joining the league, but now keeps it, I think, as locker room motivation after placing 9th the last 2 years in a row. Could this be the year that he breaks his namesake, or is it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Stay tuned. Finally, last but not least, we have Team Herb Your Enthusiasm, led by Jake. He is a friend of the league. He came in as Corey's friend, has become a friend to us all very quickly. This is his 3rd year in the league as well. And Jake, a.k.a. Justin Herbert's #1 fan, is holding out hope that this is his year, both as a Chargers fan and as a fantasy football player. Having yet to find much success in our league, placing 7th and 8th respectively, he is back again with another Justin Herbert-themed name and is ready to see how this year goes. He is also the 3rd person in our league who is #Team Girl Dad. That's everybody. Thank you all for joining us. I'm excited to get this stuff underway. Best of luck to everybody, especially best of luck to me. The draft's coming up here. Thank you all for being a part of it. Excited to get this show on the road, and I will see you all on the draft night there Wednesday. Thank you all for listening to the Brady Fantasy Football Podcast, and remember, if you're listening, you're family. Have a great night.